Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today I am going to be showing you the deck with which I very almost won the Truro League Challenge yesterday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I got myself out to a league challenge. I played what I think is a very good deck. I did very well. I did fall a little bit short of winning, but it was with a deck I haven't really talked about on this channel yet, so I figured now was about time. Huge shout out to the lovely Joe Bernard of Omnipoke fame for supplying me with this particular deck list. It is really quite cool, and honestly, stop me if you've heard this one before. It revolves around Zoroark GX. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but of course it revolves around Zoroark GX. It is the best Pokemon in the format at the moment, and it really is at the forefront of most of the best decks. It has trade, discard a card from your hand and draw two. This means that as you go through the game, you are likely to draw whatever you need. And that is amazing. It doesn't mean I'm not going to whiff double colorless energy game after game after game, but it gives you so many more chances. I mean, Professor Sycamore has long been the best draw card in the format because you can draw 7 new cards, though you've got to discard every one in your hand. Well, with 4 Zoroark on the field, which is not that difficult to do in a lot of games, you get 8 new cards, and you get to keep the cards that are in your hand, and you still got your supporter card for the turn. Then you add a double colorless energy, so a single energy attachment, and you get to use Riotous Beating 120 if you've got a full bench. Your opponent tries to one-hit KO you, but if they don't, then you could take advantage of something like Ace Roller to pick up that Zoroark, promote a new one, pop down the double colorless, and round and round you go. And don't forget, of course, that you can trade before you Ace Roller, so you don't even miss those extra 2 cards that turn. And then we get Garbodor, and there are 2 different Garbodors that we play here, both of which are great and really fit beautifully with Zoroark. Firstly, the attacking Garbodor, the one with Trash Avalanche, 1 Psychic Energy, 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard pile, which means that your opponent has to go through the entire game making sure that they're not putting cards in their discard pile. If they do, well, then that's very bad for them because they're just giving you extra damage, and that's what's so beautiful about this deck. Zoroark is already annoying. You're already drawing everything you want and need to be drawing, so what do? You come out and stop them drawing what they want to be drawing. And that's the real beauty of this deck. You get the draw, but you basically say to your opponent, go on then, use those item cards. Play Max Elixir to try and get more energy so you can get a one-hit KO on me. Play Max Potion when I don't one-hit KO you. Go and play that Choice Band to do a whole bunch of extra damage. I'm going to punish you for doing so. But the other reason it works so beautifully with Zoroark is because you've got Buzzwole and you have got Lucario. There are basically 3 big threats to Zoroark in the current format, and they are Lucario and they are Buzzwole. And they're both weak to Psychic. If they use 4 items during the game, then you're hitting for 160 for 1 energy with Garbodor, with a Choice Band that goes up to 220 and KOs either of them on a non-GX Pokemon for a single energy. And I tell you what, if your Buzzwole opponent doesn't get free energy on a Buzzwole, they're probably not getting a one-hit KO on your Garbodor for 1 prize, while you're getting a one-hit KO for 2 prizes. Lucario can get a one-hit KO using Aura Strike if they've evolved, but this is an attack that's kind of a one-off extra damage after you evolve. You don't want to be using it to KO a non-GX Pokemon, but you end up having to. This Garbodor is a wonderful, wonderful counterpart to Zoroark for 2 reasons. It KOs 2 of the biggest threats to you, while also making sure that your opponent has to burn their items to take you out, and then you can punish them for it. The other Garbodor here very simply covers a lot of your other matchups. Tapu Bulu Vikavolt? Well, the thing is, if Tapu Bulu Vikavolt sets up, it should take down Zoroark decks. Because with a choice band, they get a one-hit KO with Nature's Judgment, and you're not one-hit KOing them. So if you're playing Zoroark against Tapu Bulu, that is a bad matchup. Unless, of course, you turn off their Vikavolt using Garbodor. And they can still play a Field Blower, but remember that they need a choice band to get a one-hit KO, which means they've got to hit the Field Blower and the choice band in the same turn to get a one-hit KO, while you're just casually two-hit KOing. That is beautiful. Something like Greninja could be a little bit of a challenge to this, but as soon as you turn off Greninja Break's Giant Water Shuriken, they don't have much left. Something like Gardevoir could be a little bit of a threat, but time you turn off their Secret Spring, they are really, really worried here. And don't get me started on the mirror match. You turn off their trade. Most Zoroark decks build with few draw supporters like Cynthia, because they can just use trade all game to make sure they've got their cards. So when you turn off trade, you are hurting them. Which of course leads us to the obvious question of, hang on a second, aren't you turning off your own trades? Sometimes you are, but the real genius of this deck is the tool card Bursting Balloon. You attach Bursting Balloon to a Pokemon, and if it gets damaged, the attacking Pokemon takes 6 damage counters. But at the end of your opponent's turn, it gets discarded. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So you use all your abilities, you whack a Bursting Balloon on Garbodor, your opponent is ability locked for their turn, but at the end of their turn, Bursting Balloon gets discarded, and then you get your abilities back. Now, I should, as a side note, say that Klefki here will do the same thing, while also being a Pokemon, meaning it can be searched out with something like an Ultra Ball. I'm not such a fan of Klefki here, because you've got to save a bench space and all of that stuff, but it can be a really good thing, and I know some other really good players have used it. I can't diss it, it's just not my general thing. And this is what you do. You turn off abilities with Garbodor, you take down Psychic Weak Pokemon or anyone that uses too many items with the other Garbodor, you use Bursting Balloon to make sure your opponent doesn't have abilities, but you do, and then Zoroark stands there doing Zoroark things. There's nothing that new about this deck, although the Bursting Balloon combo is amazing. It's Zoroark that we've all seen a million times before, and it's Garbodor that we've all seen a million times before. But the fact is, firstly, they are both amazing, and secondly, Garbodor covers basically every weakness that Zoroark as a deck has. Now, here is the list in its entirety. I'm not going to go through every single card here. Lots of these things we've seen before. There's Ace Roller, like I mentioned earlier, which heals up. We play 4 copies of Guzma, because with Zoroark, if you go first and get a turn 2 Guzma, it's basically over. And if you can get 2 or 3 Zoroark on turn 2, you get all your trades, so it's likely. And if you go first, your opponent isn't able to evolve before you get your first attack, and you can just always Guzma the thing that's got energy attached. Although one of the more unusual choices in this deck, playing Palpad gives you more Ace Roller if you're in a matchup where you're going to be 2-hit KOing, and your opponent is. Or it gives you more Guzma to try and get your opponent's Pokemon off the bench. Of course, we play Mallow here, because the combo of putting any 2 cards on top of your deck and then drawing them immediately with trade is just too gosh darn good. And of course, we play 4 copies of Bridget, because this is a deck that needs to set up, and 4 Bridget really, really helps you to do so. And that's essentially the deck. It's all the best parts of Garbodor and all the best parts of Zoroark, but what it does so beautifully here is cover the bad matchups. As a very, very quick little tournament report, in round 1, I played against Buzzwole Lycanroc, and because it doesn't play double colourless energy, that means that Claw Slash isn't quite such a useful attack, and Buzzwole has to play items, so honestly, I just used Garbodor here and ran through the Buzzwole. In round 2, I played against Tapu Bulu Vikavolt, and here again, it was just turning off their abilities. In one of the games, I had Bursting Balloon beautifully every turn, which was awesome. In the other game, I didn't, but as soon as you turn off their abilities, they really are in a bad position. They can't get set up, and they end up losing the game. Game 3, I played against Zoroark Lycanroc, probably your worst matchup. If they go first and they get Claw Slash going, you basically lose. You don't have room really to play Enhanced Hammer, and they're just going to run through you. You can try and mount a bit of a comeback with Tapu Lele, but if they use one strong energy and you have 3 bench Pokemon, they can KO you with Dangerous Rogue. It's not an unwinnable matchup, but if you go second and they set up quickly, which is what happened, it really hurts. Game 2 was a lot closer, but long story short, I had 3 Guzma in a deck of 10 cards. I drew 5 cards. I whiffed Guzma. I lost. And round 4, I played against Volcanion. And the thing is, Volcanion is a deck, the player played an awful lot of item cards, and even when they didn't play item cards, I would turn off Steam Up, so they couldn't one-hit KO, so they played item cards, like Field Blower, and then I could one-hit KO. I finished 3-1, I ended up second. It is a very good deck, and like I say, Joe Bernard, hey Joe, he's the one to really thank for the list here, but it's a great deck. It's one I hadn't spoken about on the channel, and I thought that it was time I did so. But as with all of these, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Tell me what you think about this deck. Have you played it? Do you like it? Do you think it sounds good? Go nuts, but remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, and do check out Wossy Plays for some Dragon Ball Super and video game action. But by far the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.